Safety Net Studio presents.
I'll never forget Wheels in that room. He was like joking. He's like, I never seen him like that. He was like, if he would have bought that ring. The ring was in his pocket. He was just so excited. I was the same way. We had met. And for me, when I met you, you had asked the original question, at the beginning. I just loved having this conversation because it's nice to kind of go back to that moment.
Whew, here we are.
Happy Love Day, happy Love Day,
Well,
happy
Love
weekend. Yeah, when you're a parent, you're like, okay, well, it's February 14th, so the kids got something going on. So, yeah, love ya.
Yeah, well, it extended into a whole weekend thing because Friday we went on the Valentine's date.
We went on a date.
Well, she said, take me somewhere expensive, so off to Costco we went.
I love it. We went to Costco. It was so great.
$500 later.
Exactly. It was an expensive date with actual things we need.
And the dinner isn't coming out of the oven for another 45 minutes.
I love it. We had a $1.50 hot dog, and I didn't eat the bun, just so everybody knows. No bun, just the wiener.
Straight wiener. She had two.
I also had a Diet Coke, which was just a lovely treat to have.
I'm telling you.
And we just walked around.
Who knows how to spoil their girl, huh?
17 years, guys. This is what it looks like. Costco and a $1.50 hot dog.
Hashtag marriage goals.
Well, we were reminiscing about that, like how many, obviously we've been together for going on 17 years here, and we've had a lot of Valentine's Day together.
Yeah, well, we didn't really.
It's not our thing. It's never been my thing.
No, we never really did the Valentine thing. That's one thing that I really kind of dug about you, to be honest with you. When we first met, no, seriously, you're just like, I'm not into Valentine's. I'm like, neither am I. Like,
yeah.
What a bullshit Hallmark holiday.
Well, I also was, everything's always marked up, and, I worked in the jewelry business as one of my first jobs selling stuff, and I know how it all works. And so I was like, meh. But this year we just kind of leaned into just the silliness of it. We went to Costco and had a $1.50 hot dog, and I was okay with that. You also got me gifts. I didn't expect gifts. I never said get me gifts. You got me gifts, but they were gifts for both of us.
I kind of want to tell the story because it is really funny about one of the gifts. Wait, you're shaking your head like no.
Isn't this will get flagged?
No. I can use descriptive language.
Oh my gosh, here we go. This goes. Any chance of ever getting a sponsor? What episode is this?
No.
Yeah, I think it's 14.
14, somewhere around there.
Okay, but let's make this clear. We don't celebrate Valentine's Day in that way because we believe that it's all the time.
In what way? In what way?
Gifts.
Oh.
Gifts and flowers.
Okay. Well, this gift wasn't necessarily I'm getting this for Valentine's Day. It was something that you and I had both been discussing.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
You know exactly what's happening.
I know, but are we doing this? Am I comfortable with this?
Okay.
I don't know how I feel.
Let me put it to you this way, and I will use my my almost 30 years of broadcasting experience to tiptoe around this one and make sure that sensitive ears are not going to be shocked by this one, okay? So in the card that was attached to the gift, I said, a sobering way to get a buzz. I had to go to a 18-plus store.
Yes.
And their names reflect the first two human names in the Bible.
You're doing a great job here.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Yes. And I wasn't expecting this gift yesterday, last night. If we're going to be specific. I came home from teaching yoga and it was all gifts. These gifts were wrapped on my pillow.
So while I was at the store, let's just say that there was a shelf full of very phallic, thermos-sized ornaments. Mm-hmm. How am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to make it clear that I didn't want that.
No.
I have that.
So as I was browsing around, and the young girl who was dressed like Angus Young of AC/DC was showing me around, we finally settled on a product. And when we went to the counter, she placed it on the counter and she said, will that be the only one for you today? And I said, well, she only has one of those.
This is so awkward.
And I got quite a chuckle out of all three workers that were there.
Yes. I only have one.
I certainly hope that translated well.
Well, yes, because this is still on YouTube and we are trying to...
Doing our best to try and get
Doing our
monetized.
best.
Doing our best to try and get monetized and rein in some sponsors.
My favorite is they gave you a free gift with purchase.
They did.
And so you didn't know what was in the box.
Nope.
So I opened up
What's
that box.
in the
box. And so I opened up the box, and I think that might have been like when you first start out in your relationship, intimacy looks different than later on in your relationship. So for, I think at first it's like, it's all about like sleeping on top of each other and da da da. Now to me, that is amazing. But it's also like the genuine laughter, because when I opened this free gift of this box, we were both like, what is this?
It looked like a purple ring pop.
It totally looked like a ring pop. And it was like, I think I know. Oh my gosh. And so the laughter that came afterwards. And then I was like, I'm going to open this container, this little package. And then I'm laughing about it. And like, I was laughing, crying. And I think that is also such a powerful
aphrodisiac.
Yeah, and also a powerful intimacy, because intimacy isn't just. Am I allowed to say sex on YouTube?
Well, here's what's messed up is right now I've been seeing a lot of things online where people are self-censoring that word, like not putting a beep over it, but just taking that word out because of all of the things that are coming out about Jeffrey E.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think so. Whatever.
Intimacy. Just say the word intimacy.
Can you make it like a fun bleep when you do that, though, for me?
Sure.
Yeah. No. No. I think that'll be even worse. So I think that's also part of it, too. But yes, that was also a surprise gift that I received. But we are not the couple that generally gives gifts at Valentine's Day. In fact, I can't recall ever celebrating it like we're getting a gift. I mean, going to Costco was just a fun way to take a little date. And we always say that, you just turn them into mini dates. We have tons of mini dates. Hey, you want to go for a 20-minute walk with the dog? Kids are like, yeah, they're at that age. They like to, hey, mom and dad are gone. I mean, they're old enough to be alone. And so they're gone for 20 minutes, or mom and dad are going to Costco or whatever. And we turn that into a date. It doesn't have to be these romantic $500 dinners. Instead, you spend $500 on dinners for
the next 2 weeks. Exactly. But there was another, I kind of coupled it together with another project, not necessarily a secret project, but a low-key project that I've been working on. And it's something that I've been doing on YouTube. And it's a slow burn. I'll put it that way. It's nothing that's, like, slam, here it is. It's something that is...
It's a passion project of yours.
It's a passion project, and it falls under the umbrella of hopefully future passive income, which I'm kind of hoping. But what I did is I did an extra one, because I have things scheduled going out every week. Like, things are scheduled out to go out for the next couple years. And I did an extra one that released on Valentine's Day that you posted to your social media on your Instagram. But it was a art piece that was coupled with a bit of a love letter. That was
a bit. You showed it to me in the middle of Costco. You're like, oh, I want to show you something I got you.
Not got you.
Oh.
Did for
you.
Yeah.
You handed it to me in the middle of the meat aisle, by the way, and you're like, look at this, and I'm sitting there in front of the sausage. I was in front of the sausage because the guy was standing there putting it all out.
For the record, my sausage makes my wife cry.
And you handed it to show me it on the screen, what you wrote, and that you took the time to make this beautiful art piece. It's like, I love wallpaper art. I love, we all have our living rooms and our rooms all centered around this black box, and it's always drove me crazy. And years ago, people started creating, it was like the fire guy poking at the fire at Christmas time, and then more and more people started to do art. And I always loved that, because then you can just throw art on their TV and it's like just rotating art. And you made this rotating art piece in honor of our relationship.
Evolving
Art piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so sweet. So I'm reading what you wrote, the love letter you wrote, crying in the middle of Costco in front of the sausage, just tearing up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm standing there hugging you. And I'm a pretty emotional woman as it is. And I've been super emotional this past week. You took away all my damn carbs. And I've been really emotional. So yeah, it was a lovely gift. And we'll put the link in the pod script in case anybody wants to throw it up on their TV. It's 3 hours long and it like slowly moves.
Yeah, so it's just it's a collaboration I've been doing with AI, and I don't want to scare anyone away when I say AI, because keep in mind I've been working on this project for going on 2 years now, and it was something where I would, because I know that you really like those, and I really like those as well, rather than just putting a picture on the wall like you said. We like putting up evolving art and rotating art and pictures of family that rotate throughout the day. And I really like that idea. And I saw, I'll be honest with you, I saw the kind of numbers that it was doing on YouTube, and I was like, man, there's something to this. And so I started sketching some things out, and then working with AI and really kind of curating the ones that I like that AI would kind of look, and in the different kind of styles it would do. I kind of took that, and then I plugged it into my video editing software and just kind of blended them from one into the other. So it's an evolving art piece. So if you put it on in the background and you leave it on, if you check back in an hour, it's going to look the same but different in different art styles. And it was something that I just I don't know, it was something, it was a good way for me to kind of scratch that itch, that creative itch.
That's a great point. It's something that I'm really big on with the boys for homeschooling is, if they're doing any sort of academic and I can see they're getting frustrated, I'm thinking, okay, let's move to art. It's always been art for me. I've loved art. When I was a kid, walls like this in our room, I was able to draw with a pencil, and I love drawing cartoon characters and stuff. I love art. I mean, Bob Ross is literally one of my heroes. And so I love that. You did that because your brain, to function on a level to entertain hundreds of thousands of people in the morning and be, on, to be able to take your brain from one side to the other. I think it was so great. So when I saw you lean into this project, I mean, you've got lots of them up there.
Yeah.
Some of them are short, some of them are long. Some of them, I mean, let's be honest, if you're a stoner and you want to throw one of those on, wow. There's one out there that I was like, man, if I was high, I'd just sit there and watch this one.
Well, I'll be honest with you, to kind of peel the curtain back a little bit, it's a combination of two things. One, it reminds me of when, strangely enough, when I was playing hockey, but nowadays, and I was actually chatting with someone at Costco when I was waiting for.
You talking to somebody at Costco on our date?
When I was waiting for the hot dogs, this woman was standing there, and all of a sudden these three kids come sliding in there in half hockey gear, and I said, "Oh, that's a good idea, because they fall a lot." And she laughed, and I said, "Hockey?" She goes, "Yeah, we're going from one game to the next," and they were playing shinny after hockey before we come to Costco. And I said, "Oh," I said, "it reminds me of the old days." I said, "Are you one of those moms that does the spring and summer and then rolling into winter again?" She goes, "No." I said, "Good for you." I said, "That's a lot." I said, because nowadays it's, winter hockey rolls into spring hockey, rolls into summer hockey, and not all the time, but more often than not, kids will just get burnt out.
Yeah.
And by the time they get to that age where they're really about to get into competitive hockey, they get burnt out from the game. And that's something that was never a fear of my age group, because we were always excited to get back on the ice because we were always cross training. Whether guys played soccer, which I did, or guys played lacrosse. Some of the best hockey players I played with played lacrosse in the summer. God, they were tough as nails.
Yeah, lacrosse is tough.
Tough as nails. Or they played baseball for hand-eye coordination.
Catch, throw.
It was something.
With a net like that? No, not for me.
And
oh, I could never.
Way too much going on.
Whoa.
And so for me, it was in the sphere of cross training in the creative world. It's as creative as my job is for coming up with comedic ideas and whatnot. This is under the same umbrella, but cross training in a different aspect of that creativity. That coupled with the fact that, keep in mind, this goes back to the old days of having a phone attached to the wall and a cord. My mother used to being an RN and working in management. She was on the phone a lot for a lot of conferences and just management and whatnot. And she would sit there and she would have those little big, the larger ones of the Post-it notes, the yellow ones. And she would just sit there and she would just draw, and it would just sometimes she'd be able to write notes, and other times her hand would always be moving. It'd just be like these really intricate, calligraphy and whatnot. And I kind of took that idea, and I would do those. I would sit down, I would just do something abstract, and kind of color in and move things along, and then I would snap that and then load it into the computer, and that's where some of these art pieces came from, was just the very abstractive idea of just moving pen on paper. And so I don't like the idea of when people say, oh, that's just AI. Well, no, it was. I like to think of it more as a collaboration between the two, because could I turn it into a very substantial art piece like that? Maybe, possibly, not necessarily with paint. I'm not as good with paint, but it was a bit of a shortcut, but I didn't want it to be, hey, look what I did. I felt like there needed to be more human interaction in the process, which is why I decided to curate them, make sure that they went in the right order, and then really putting the effort in.
Colors and altered it.
Not only that, but
they redrew the photos.
Right, and so not only that, but starting off with a square and then expanding it to a rectangle, which you recommended that I do. So I mean, I don't like the idea of saying when someone says, "Oh, that's just an AI art." No, it had some help. But
you know what I learned this week?
For the record, that was supposed to be kind of a secret low-key project. I just explained the whole bloody thing. It's not so low-key anymore. What did you learn?
You should just bleep that whole section out.
Yeah, right.
Well, they really talked about for a while there.
That whole thing was just a really weird metaphor for what we do in bed. And yes, that gift, AI.
Oh my God. I was going to say, what I learned this week, I've learned a lot this week. It's been an interesting week, but potato's going to potate, hate is going to hate. So if somebody doesn't like it, they don't have to click on the link and look at it and put it on. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not for everybody. You're not for everybody. You're not for everybody. But there are people and there are not people. And that's okay. We can't please everybody. And I think that that's a valuable lesson. If somebody's like, man, it's not for me, they don't put the art on. You know, they enjoy your black box that you have on top of it. You know what I mean? But I love the idea of having that on there. There's just something about it. And like you said, I love the idea of having a movie on in the background. I grew up like that. You know, you'd throw on that channel and you'd be halfway through a movie and you're like, oh my gosh, it's The Fugitive. Oh, okay, yeah. And then the commercial would go and you clean and you do something, you come back on, and you're still kind of cleaning, in. I've always loved the idea of something on that black box. Something about it not on, you know, this has always just agitated me. And the way we position our rooms around this box, right? So to have art, to have softness. And sometimes you just don't want family photos on there. It's like, shit.
Yeah, I know what y'all look like.
You know, I don't want to see that, you know. So it's just, there's something about it I really, really love. And 17 years, as I said at the top of the show, together, it's nice to see you flex that muscle and to lean into that. I don't want to say softness, but more of that artistic side, because that's nothing. If I sometimes think, like, if I could just go back to when we first met, that first meeting, and been like, just so you know, you're going to have an art channel. And you'd be like, just so you know, you're going to be lifting 320 pounds.
You're going to be an athlete.
Yeah, I'd be like, run? Me? No.
Well, I probably would have believed what you said, to be honest with you.
The art?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So you always knew that was in you.
Yeah.
I think I would have believed it. I would have believed I would have stood on a stage. I just don't think I'd... with lifting weights, yeah.
Well, if I would have said you're going to stand on stage in a bikini, you would have went, yeah.
Yeah, well, the day we met, the timing we met, yeah, because I was just coming off of Maxim and moving into Playboy. So, yeah, like we met just kind of when I was just finishing up that peak of that part of my career. And I was still very much into that. Dave and I met here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, well, listen, I know you want to tell the story about how we met, but I'm going to change it up on you here a little bit. And
what 30 years in broadcasting, do whatever you want.
Yeah, no. And here's the thing. Here's the rub. So we can break down the meeting real quick, but I kind of want to get some insight on what your thoughts were, not necessarily after, but during that first meeting, because we met at Earl's. The idea was that you were coming on the show as a guest. You were introduced. We were introduced digitally by a friend of ours, Laura
Turzak.
Laura Turzak.
Shout out, Laura. Still friends with you.
Who reached out to me and said, hey, a girlfriend of mine's touring with Maxim Magazine. She's back in town. They're doing a hometown hotties thing. Do you and Hal want her on your show? And I went, we've had models on the show before. Like, great for us, but not they haven't really provided a whole lot of entertainment on the air, to be honest. She goes, hey, this girl's different. Here's her email. Send her an email. Get her on.
I like how long ago it was. Send her an email.
Yeah, send her an email. And so I said, okay, sure. So I sent out an email to you, and you said, yep, sounds good. Here's the date I'm available. But just a heads up, we got to go for a quick 15-minute coffee just to go over things that I can and can't talk about. And so I was like, okay, cool. Let's meet at Earl's, Maine for lunch at this day. And so it was a day in June, and I know it was June because I had just gotten back from Hershey, Pennsylvania for the Calder Cup finals between the Hershey Bears and the Manitoba Moose. And so I showed up at the restaurant when I was on
Earl's, Maine, back in the day when it was actually there.
Earl's, Maine, and walked on the patio and saw a guy by the name of Tom Black, who I used to coach in junior hockey. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. He goes, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, I'm just having lunch. He goes, who are you having lunch with? And I said, this model that's coming on my radio show. And he goes, I'll stick around. And so I said, okay, tell you what. I said, you can hang out and you can be my wingman. I said, but if I give you the elbow, you can take off. And he said, yeah, okay. So we sat down and we had a beer while we were waiting. And then we saw you walk up Main Street wearing white pants. And you know what they say about girls in white pants? I actually don't know what they said. And you sat down, and it was within about 5 minutes. I kind of gave him the elbow, and he made his exit. And our 15-minute coffee turned into a 3-hour lunch. Your sister came and joined us at one point because she happened to be in the area, your eldest sister.
Yep.
And then after it was done, you said, hey, I'm going to a little family barbecue. Would you mind dropping me off? And I said, sure, no problem. And so when I pulled up to the house to drop you off, you said, you want to come in? And I said, sure. And so I met the majority of your family.
The first day.
The very first day.
Yeah, I still remember walking in. My cousin Chrissy, shout out Chrissy. I'll never forget. I hadn't been home. I was living abroad. I was living in Australia. I was back and forth in Miami. I was all over. Like, I was traveling. I was like, at the time, it was like, oh. And I remember walking in to the door, and I was like, ah! I was like, Candace! And then you came in behind me, and I'll never forget. I can see Chrissy still to this moment. She looks over. She's like, why is Dave Wheeler in my house? I'm like, Dave Wheeler's in your house? Candace Rae's in your house? And then you were there for like 2 hours.
Yeah, just kind of hung out with everybody.
You kind of hung out. That was the Friday.
Yeah.
That was a Friday.
Yeah.
And then I went on your show on the Monday.
I does that sound right? Because here's how I remember. I think it was midweek because you came on the show that week. And then after you and I did the show together, I took you up for dinner that night.
No, not that night.
Or the night after.
It was because you wanted to. You asked me. I remember you. I stayed on for 2 breaks. I knew something was happening with 2 breaks, and I'll tell you from my perspective in a minute. But 2 breaks, and then you came up the stairs because this was the one on when you guys used to be on Portage, and you followed me up the stairs, and you said, "Do you want to go for dinner tonight?" And I couldn't because my sister I had Taylor and Jared. They were coming over to visit, and I said, "I can't tonight. I'm supposed to be watching them. Do you want to do it on Sunday?" And so it was Sunday. So yeah, I guess it was during the week. We must have met on a Monday or Tuesday, and it was during the week. I do love the stories as they've evolved. As I recall, Hal years later telling me, I'll never forget Wheels in that room. He was like joking. He's like, I never seen him like that. He was like, if he would have bought that ring. The ring was in his pocket. He was just so excited. I was the same way. We had met, and for me, when I met you, you had asked the original question, at the beginning. I just loved having this conversation because it's nice to kind of go back to that moment. And we were so innocent. We didn't have all the stuff that we've gone through. But I remember finally sitting across the table from somebody who got it. Where when you're a model and you're being, you're in your bikini and your lingerie and you're doing all this stuff, people assume you're this kind of a person. Women, men, they just assume you're like A. And you had that same thing. You're on air. You're this. People assume this. They don't know that there's depth, or they don't know that there's more to them just that personality that's there. And we bonded very quickly on that, Formula One and conspiracy theories.
And a little bit of Star Wars.
And a little bit of Star Wars and conspiracy theories. Mm-hmm. And that was really great. For me, I grew up as a Winnipegger, so I knew who Hal was. I actually can tell you, when I was living in Australia, I remember specifically my friend Belle. Belle. She was
one of your bridesmaids.
One of my bridesmaids, matron of honor at our wedding. She was talking about hometown. I was like, oh man, there's a great show. This is back in the day, and I remember putting you guys on the radio back then and be like, yeah, Winnipeg radio, because there's a big deal, big Winnipeg radio, not just like that's it. And so then when Laura reached out and said, hey, I work for the station. Do you want to maybe go on the show and meet them? I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool. Like, how great to be in your hometown, getting to be on hometown radio. Like, that feels like a bigger deal than being asked to do other radio stations or to be asked to like in a weird way, like even getting a magazine, like because I came on and I got my first magazine cover around that time, and like even that I was like, no, hometown radio, that's so cool. So and then that I was moving over to go to do Maxim and then go from there. So yeah, it was really interesting to sit there. I know that Earl's was our meeting spot, and that is now 17 years later.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And like that's why I think when people say they meet somebody and it's just like, you just don't know. Sometimes you just
I knew.
No, but you just don't know that like that meeting or that like you knew right away.
Not only did I know right away, I went home and I told this at our wedding, but I went home and I sent my brother an email that night and I said, I met the woman I'm going to marry. Yeah. Yeah, I knew. And I think part of that came with
wearing white pants.
Wearing white pants. They say, I'm not glorifying this at all, but I think the fact that I had dated so much through my 20s and been through so many relationships that I was just like, oh, okay, the old adage is true. You got to slay a few dragons to get to your princess. And I just, after kind of, running through the trenches, I kind of knew what it was. Look, and this could be a cautionary tale if you like, but what it comes down to is how much bullshit are you willing to put up with? And I could tell right away that you were not a lot of bullshit. There's other girls that I had dated where I'm like, I'm gonna have to deal with a lot of bullshit, and I could tell your bullshit was going to be a lot lesser than most. And that was
just dad issues. No dad around. That creeped in sometimes.
Yeah, learned that one right off the bat too.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, here we go. Here's what we got. And then we were married 2 years later.
Yeah, so we met in 2009. We got married in 12. Yeah, we
had Angus in 11.
Well, keep in mind, we met in June. We were living together by September.
Yeah, it was fast and furious. And it was like, that's why sometimes people will be like, oh, we met. And I feel like it's like, go for it. Jump in with both feet. Because I'm so happy. And like, I'm so glad we just both went, yep, foot to the gas pedal, go.
Yeah, because so we moved in
I think October.
We moved in September, October. We got Vegas, our Great Dane, in November-ish. We got pregnant in January.
We weren't going to stores like that at that time.
Yeah, no, it was quick.
Yeah, it was quick.
We
had a big wedding. We got married at the Fort Garry.
450 people.
Yeah, I think I knew 50 people there.
Yeah.
Somebody recently reached out to me on Instagram and said, you were working for 92 at the time, 97 at the time, and you had auctioned off.
No, not auctioned off. It was a giveaway.
Sorry.
It was a giveaway. Yeah, we gave away a table.
A table at our wedding.
Yeah.
And somebody recently, within the last month, reached out and said I was one of those people that were at the table.
That would have been one of the Winnichucks.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's funny how fast that night will go. I'm sure anybody who's listening to this is married. We didn't have a videographer. It's one of my biggest moment regrets. I wish we would have had one. We have a lot of photos, but we don't have.
If anyone's out there and they got video on their old Samsung phone or their old Nikon,
we don't have any of that. But we had such a big wedding, and Fort Garry Hotel. I'll never forget. Our food came out. Remember our late night food came out? And it was just this huge buffet of sandwiches and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, we were both so exhausted. I think it was 12:30. Again, looking back, I would have been like, you're staying till 2? You're shutting it down. But I remember being like, let's go. And so we went into the room and we were both hungry because we barely touched our food. And we called and we're like, hey, can we get some of that food? And they're like, no.
Yeah. I was like,
I think we just spent
please?
A lot of money. I think we should be able to. We didn't get any food.
We didn't get any food.
No, we have spent many anniversaries there. That has been our thing. I'll tell you one thing that was super important to me for our anniversaries is that I would plan the odds and Dave would plan the evens. Mm-hmm. And why is because when I hear people talk about their anniversary, a lot of people will be like,
he didn't do this.
Or he's doing this. But marriage is 50, 100, 100 or 80, 10 or whatever it is. But
your math is awesome.
80, 20. You know what I mean? But so I wanted to make sure that there was a year where I planned, a year where you planned, a year and I planned. And also I planned the first year to set the bar. Let's be honest. It wasn't like, listen, it's just Costco. No, but we went back to our the room that we stayed in, and we stayed at the Fort Garry. So I plan all the odd years, and you plan all the even years.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I mean, I think somebody recently said to me, you know, sometimes your life looks like, on social media, your life looks like this fairy tale. And I'm like, how great. At first I was insulted, but we've been through so much. We lost everything that we had except for each other, except for our kid. We didn't lose our health. Thank gosh. Oh, I can't. You can believe that one, right? I don't use that sound either. But we lost so much of what we thought deemed important: a big house, savings.
I said this to you recently, and I've been trying to figure out how to say this properly. But for those that don't know, if you're fairly new to the show or new to our story or new to our lives, I was very publicly fired, international news, just because of the context of what was happening. But it didn't ruin our lives. It ruined that life. That life that we were living, that got ruined. Didn't ruin our lives, but ruined that life.
Right, and it crumbled it. Like, it was like, boom, and we had to figure it all out very quickly in a public sphere. And support fell away, and friends fell away. And yeah, it really, really changed our journey and that life. It really did change that life. And I remember there was just times it was just so hard being in a massive lawsuit with a massive company, and, you know, consistent large bills coming in and everything. Like, it's a hard when especially money is a big root of complication in a marriage. Mm-hmm. And when the bills are piling up and the money's not coming in, and you get frustrated, you get really, really frustrated. It was really hard. There was a few, I would say 3 years there, where I just thought, man, there's a cloud. I remember crying. It just feels like there's a cloud over top of our lives.
Well, and listen, not to take anything away from anyone else who went through hard times during the pandemic, but we were in a tough spot, and then the pandemic hit, and it just got harder because we were able to keep the lights on, through Safety Net Studio and doing our podcast, that being, the incarnation, the first iteration of our podcast that we did. And then all of a sudden, sponsors dropped out because they weren't open, and we were renting out our studio. People weren't allowed in. Yeah. The support that the income that we had just kind of went away, and things just got even harder. Yeah. And in a weird way, I don't know why this makes sense now as I'm thinking about it, but it's almost like we were preparing for it. It was like, all right, what else you got? What else are you going to throw at us? Oh, you're going to take away all of our rights and not allow us to go into places and shop? All right, fine, we'll just leave.
Well, right, and so we left, and we just went into a little bubble. You know, we went into a bubble in Mexico, and we just disconnected I completely disconnected, turned off all my social media, deleted everything. Bye-bye, see you later. And I look back now, I said this to you the other day, I look back now and realize that those almost 2 years were some of the best years because there was no distraction. It was just the four of us. And yeah, we had family come visit and friends come visit, and they'd spend some time with us. But it was just us in this little pocket. And I look back and think, there's just so many distractions in life. And at that time, there wasn't. So when we got there and things started to settle, I think that's when things started to, there was like some clarity that came in and everything like that. But the other thing I was going to bring up too about the relationship is when you meet somebody, and we spent 3 times a week at an Earl's or a Joey's having drinks. Man. And we went to every event. I mean, you were doing every emceeing, every party, everything. Like, it was like party when we first met. So that first year, we just partied our so much. And then you become parents, and you realize you come from a 2 parent household. I came from just a mom. That was another thing when you talk about marriage that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about. Now you're coming from 2 different parenting households. Mm-hmm. So I didn't grow up with a dad. So when dad's around, you become a dad. This another role that is an honor when they're babies and you're not concerned. But now all of a sudden they start to grow up, and you start to see how you parent and how you parent. That was also a challenging time because I didn't grow up with a dad to know that that's the role that is supposed to be played. I had a mom who played all the roles. And that was also hard for us when I don't say those first few years, but maybe when Angus started to be like 6 or 7 and there was more of a challenge, that was also a challenging time, I found.
Look, I've said this before. I'll say it again. After almost 15 years of being a parent, you think you'd be good at it by now, but there's brand new challenges every single day, every single day. And I did this to you this morning when we were watching them at their curling. I said, being a parent is just like overseeing a science experiment.
You did say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the greatest gift, and I'm so grateful. And I'm glad that we got a chance to, share our story here, because I think if you don't really know our story, this is a good snippet. No, that's totally wrong. Snippet. I did it again. Snippet. It says snippet sounds better.
Sure.
Woo.
Yeah.
Woo.
Acceptance.
Dave has accepted my vocabulary. Yes.
Look, before we wrap up, give us a quick little update on where we're at in your journey of weightlifting and getting close to this competition that you're going in June.
We are.
By the way, is that how we're spending our anniversary this year?
Well, it's June 13th is my competition.
Okay.
Our anniversary is on the 23rd,
That's
so
right.
we're okay. I'll be eating cake. Oh, I can't wait. I'm having cake. And so everyone's asked, what do you want? Cake, brownie cake.
Genies?
Yes, somebody, it's, don't you know me? I want cake, okay? I don't care. So where am I at? I'm actually almost at the halfway point, meaning this coming week, it will be 17 weeks of training and 17 weeks left, which makes me quite emotional. I've been very emotional this week. I think just the change in food. I'm down to 1,520 calories a day. Everything has to be measured. I take a picture of my food. I send it to the coach. I understand that can sound so extreme, but this is the first part of it. We are on what's called a mini cut, so I don't go into the full cut now for I think I have another 6 weeks in the mini cut. My workouts are on average about 2 hours, 5 days a week. I'm doing 10K steps a day, abs every single day. And it's a lot. It's really, really a lot, because if you're not appreciating what I'm doing or on my team, you look at it and you go, that's crazy. From the outside looking in, but this is what it takes. And I'm excited for what's coming. I'm excited to see the version, because I feel like I get to learn so much more about me. Like this week, I learned that it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay that not everyone's going to support your journey. And like, I spent my life being a people pleaser, talking about not having a dad. There's a reason, somebody abandons you. You sort of think, oh my gosh, you've abandoned me. Oh, I should try and do everything I can to keep you safe. And then, I realized I lift heavy shit. You don't want to enjoy my company or whatever, then whatever. I got a goal. I got to get going. I'm not does that make sense?
Yeah. It's, I think you're getting close to the, I hate to say age, but I think you're getting close to the age where you're realizing that it's okay to be a nice person, but being a doormat is not okay.
Yeah, and I've been a doormat for a long time for a lot of people in my life, and yeah, I think lifting heavy shit makes you realize. I do Bulgarian squats, and so like now I'm just like, lower your tone. Do you know what I do? Do you know how hard I pushed on a sled this week? If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see this. I pushed on a sled 290 pounds, sled push there and back. And then this past week, 325 pounds there and back. Was it a struggle? Yes, but I did it. You can do hard things. And I think that's the part of it that I'm the most excited about. I'm pushing myself into a way that I've never done. I know I'm a strong woman here. I know I've gone through a lot of things in my life that, we all forgot things and you get through it. But this makes me like, I feel strong. I am strong, So that's where I'm at.
All right. I got to go check out my roast.
I'll move the furniture, babe. What's up, brother?
Oh, no. You do it to yourself.
I do it to myself.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye-bye. Thank you. It's nice for you to tell the story again from your side. I love you too. It was nice.